Scuderia Ferrari has worked hard on the SF24 car. Several measures have been taken during the last week in Maranello because the goal in the Chinese Grand Prix is to do better than 2 weeks ago at the Suzuka circuit, maximizing the qualifying performance as well, a scenario where the two Ferrari drivers struggled a lot in simply activating the Pirelli tires, unable to access maximum performance on a flying lap. The grip provided by the Pirelli red-banded tires was not sufficient, and lap times obviously suffered as a result. For this reason, the red team arrives in Shanghai with new know-how accumulated to avoid repeating the unpleasant experience. Let's start our usual analysis by talking about the Maranello team, which, as expected, continues with the optimization work of the aerodynamic package initiated at the Bahrain International Circuit in the pre-season testing session. The process of understanding the Ferrari SF24 continues, and the only rear wing seen so far is retained for the Chinese Grand Prix weekend. It is a specific design capable of adapting well to different types of circuits, offering a satisfactory compromise in the aerodynamic efficiency and vertical force equation. Achieving the optimal level of rear downforce, defined through indoor simulations, is achieved by varying the type of beam wing and optimizing the incidence of its flaps. This weekend in China, the double-element specification should be present, one with a lot of downforce, while the other is almost horizontal. The Ferrari technicians want to ensure good top speeds, since the red car has a good lateral grip in fast corners, thanks to a floor that works particularly well in different speed ranges and varying characteristic angles. The level of downforce installed on the car will then be confirmed or slightly revised ahead of the first free practice session on Friday morning, this considering that, generally, the chosen load is below the optimal value estimated by simulations. Even at Red Bull, there is a certain continuity from an aerodynamic point of view. Different packages will not be tested, both to contain expenses within the budget cap and to optimize the setup of the RB20 car around a single rear wing, thus simplifying the work between the factory and the track. Once again, as we had imagined, the engineers in Milton Keynes have decided to bring a rear wing with a larger frontal area compared to the average of other teams. In terms of top speed, they don't lose too much due to the greater efficiency, so it's a compromise they can afford. This will help Red Bull develop a lot of lateral grip in the fast section of the second sector, also benefiting medium-low speeds. In these early events, the reigning world champion team has preferred to have some extra rear downforce. The reason is quickly explained: to avoid creating a condition during entry that could destabilize the car. Turning to the Mercedes-McLaren comparison, we see that in this case, the two rivals adopt a more similar load level, at least regarding the frontal area of the two specifications. Spoon profiles to contain drag. Generally, the Mercedes W15 car manages to achieve higher top speeds. In slow corners, however, the Mercedes single-seater is not yet able to develop a sufficient level of grip, which is why steering corrections are often seen. At the moment, McLaren needs to improve the overall aerodynamic efficiency of its car. Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri will have to make the most of an MCL38 car that in the second sector of the Shanghai circuit could find a lot of performance in fast corners, where they should undoubtedly dominate compared to Mercedes. And why not, considering the characteristics of the papaya-colored car get very close to the performance that the Ferrari-Red Bull duo will showcase. The British car has a very stable load that offers a lot of solidity in this type of fast corners, where the driver inputs only one steering command. The 2024 Chinese Grand Prix will be an important test for Scuderia Ferrari. Yet another one, we might say, considering that since the current Formula One season began, the Italian side has always delivered excellent performances, and every week we expect at least a confirmation from Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz and their SF24 cars. The red car will not have any special updates until the Imola race weekend in Italy, when we will finally see a significant aerodynamic package, the first of this championship, which the Maranello team will introduce with the clear goal of countering Red Bull and further reducing the gap to the Austrian side. However, it is certainly Charles Leclerc who is called upon to provide answers at the Shanghai International Circuit. The Monegasque driver has recently missed out on one of his strong points, namely the qualifying lap. This is because he is struggling a lot to get the tires up to temperature during the warm-up phase, and for this reason, he spent a lot of time on the Ferrari simulator last week, trying to learn as much as possible about the secrets of a car that is evidently still partly unknown for the Maranello technicians. On the other side of the garage, we have a Carlos Sainz in excellent form, as the Spanish driver was able to finish on the podium in all the races he has competed in, topped by the beautiful victory at the Albert Park circuit in Melbourne. At the same time, the Spanish driver's thoughts are elsewhere, namely the market, and it couldn't be different. After Fernando Alonso's renewal with Aston Martin, the path for Carlos Sainz seems to be leading him to Mercedes, but team principal Toto Wolff is having Kimi Antonelli test the 2021 W12 to get him familiar with a Formula One car. What will become of the Spaniard? Ferrari finally has a competitive car, but it seems to be playing tricks on Charles Leclerc. The Monegasque driver wants to solve these qualifying problems, which have effectively prevented him from contending for victory in Melbourne and for the podium in Japan at the Suzuka circuit, which became his teammate's affair. According to Charles Leclerc himself, his Maranello teammate is doing much better in this early part of the 2024 Formula One season, but well, this has been evident to everyone. It is a clear sign of maturity on Charles Leclerc's part, who has always had the virtue of being honest, never choosing to hide behind excuses, and knowing when he is at fault, acknowledging others' skill in certain moments. In China, it will be somewhat challenging to get everything dialed in, as teams and drivers only have 1 hour of free practice available due to the sprint race format. However, the Monegasque driver will have the opportunity to practice the qualifying pace and preparation from Friday, with the session dedicated to the starting grid for Saturday's mini race, the Sprint Shootout. So for better or for worse, he will have a proper qualifying session, more or less, considering the tire limitations, to fine-tune everything ahead of the key moment. On the other side of the Scuderia Ferrari garage, Carlos Sainz is certainly experiencing one of the best moments of his Formula One career. The Spaniard, who is leaving the Italian team at the end of the season to make way for 7-time world champion Lewis Hamilton, is only 4 points behind Charles Leclerc despite missing the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix due to appendicitis. Yet it's paradoxical that he is still without a contract for the 2025 F1 Championship. Apparently, he has been calmer in the early part of this season, demonstrating that he can perform in a top F1 team, which is all he can do at this stage. Unfortunately for him, options seem limited. It's either Mercedes or Red Bull. However, the latter seems inclined to renew with Sergio Perez for 1 more year, while in Brackley, to replace Lewis Hamilton, there's also the option to go with Andrea Kimi Antonelli, but in the end, all of this depends on Toto Wolff's intentions. In short, the Spaniard, incredibly enough, could find himself empty-handed and settle for a seat in Audi. However, this would mean joining Sauber already from next year, a team that struggles significantly to get past Q1 and will find it difficult to challenge at the top, even in future years. Carlos Sainz, however, seems very calm, at least outwardly, but considering the entire driver market, well, perhaps he might have a few thoughts after all. This might push him to stand out even more in the car. It would certainly be beneficial for Ferrari. The important thing is not to overdo it.